daughter is a Star Wars fan, the first thing they're going to ask for are the figures.
The reason they're 3.75 inches tall is because the first mock-up figures that I made were Fisher-Price Adventure People. Fisher-Price Adventure People.
Welcome back to GFT. Here is a new episode with your host Chris B. Thanks for tuning in. This will be fun. Let's discuss figures and the latest toy run from a galaxy far, far away. Let's dive into the news and what's next in your display. From the Black Series to TVC, from Hasbro to the Kenner Legacy. 3.75 inches, 6 inches tall. Galactic Figure Talk covers it all. Displaying, rearranging the collection.
Fine addition to my collection.
Discussing figures, asking Hasbro for perfection. The thrill of the hunt, filling gaps is the mission. Always on the move, always wanting mint condition.
I have 3 of each. 1 to display, 1 to open, and 1 just in case.
We finally launched 6-inch when I felt the time was right.
Displaying, rearranging the collection.
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
Discussing figures, asking Hasbro for perfection. The thrill of the hunt, filling gaps is the mission. Always on the move, always wanting mint condition. Rapid firing fet, the early bird kit. So many topics to cover, which one to pick? Bent corners or creases on the card. Are bubbles too big, obstructing the art? Super articulation or 5POA? Soft good robes or plastic capes? Okay, maybe a live stream or pipeline reveal. Clearance find or an online deal. Whatever the topic may be, it's all driven by the GFT community. Rearranging the collection.
I don't think I ever left the DeLorean guard behind.
Discussing figures, asking Hasbro for perfection.
Listen to the waves. Don't you hear it? The lightsabers.
Thrill of the hunt, filling gaps is the mission. Always on the move, always wanting mint conditions. Play, rearranging the collection.
All right, so welcome back to another episode of GFT, Galactic Figure Talk. My name is Chris B. I'm your host, and let's talk about some of the latest Star Wars action figure news and, of course, Star Wars news. And this morning, the first trailer for Andor Season 2 dropped, which, you know, it's always exciting to get new Star Wars live-action content. So seeing new Star Wars footage is always exciting to me. And I think that this trailer did look a lot more Star Wars-y than Season 1 did in its entirety. Okay, so this looked pretty promising. We saw the Rebel base on Yavin 4 in a bunch of shots. We saw TIE fighters. We saw Saw Gerrera was back. Mon Mothma was back. All the characters, or the main characters from the first season. Plus K2SO was in the trailer, which is great. Yeah, so in that regards, you know, visually, I think it looked pretty good. No droids, no aliens, I think, in the trailer, though, right? And quite honestly, I was not feeling the music at all. I think that if they would have used some classic inspired John Williams music, that would have probably gotten me a lot more hyped up about the show than what they've done with this music that they used. But it is what it is. And surprise, surprise, they did announce that they will have 3 episodes every single week, which is interesting. I guess the attention spans these days aren't quite the same as what they used to be, so they're starting out on April 22nd with 3 episodes, and then every week after that, we're going to get 3 additional episodes. And those episodes are going to tell a story 4 years prior to Rogue One. So it's gonna be jumping around in the timeline quite a bit, I think. Yeah, so it's going to be cool. We'll see. April 22nd, we're going to get the first 3 episodes. You know, quite honestly, I guess it depends on how long those episodes are, but this could turn into getting a Star Wars movie literally every week for 4 weeks. Yeah, that could be, I mean, depending on how long these episodes are, but that could be close to getting a full feature-length Star Wars movie every week. Kind of crazy. And yeah, I mean, Star Wars Celebration is going to happen in April as well, so there's going to be a lot of stuff coming at us in, I would say, mid-April to probably the middle of May, you know, with May the 4th and everything happening as well. So yeah, this is the calm before the storm currently. So if you haven't seen the trailer yet, the link to Andor Season 2 trailer is in the podcast description, so check that out. Now, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but on the Galactic Figures Facebook page, and I also posted it on the Instagram page as well, is a video of the trench run from A New Hope, recreated with toys. My friend Guillermo sent that to me a couple of weeks ago, a week ago or something like that now. Now, Guillermo, he was on the podcast very early on, I think episode 5 or episode 6, something like that, very early on, because at the time he had produced this documentary about collecting called Plastic Crack, which you can currently watch on Amazon Prime. But I also think that he's putting it up on his YouTube channel now. So if you haven't watched it yet, it's really well done, and he goes around and interviews some of the biggest collectors around the country who collect a variety of different toys. So it's very cool. But I think it was last year or the year before, he opened up this store in Florida. And so he's got some space and he's got a lot of toys there. And you guys got to go check it out if you're in the Fort Lauderdale area. I think he's in Sunrise, Florida is what the town is called. And he's got this big collectible shop there. And he filmed this video with a bunch of Star Wars figures that he had lying around in a box, and it turned out really well. Actually, this one went viral. I think currently on the Galactic Figures Facebook page, there are over 500,000 views on this thing. So it's pretty incredible. And when he mailed that to me, I fell in love with this instantly because it just kind of recreates the love that we had for those toys growing up back in the Kenner days. And when it didn't really matter whether we had the accurate figures or not, and we were just happy to have some sort of representation of the characters, right? That's what it was all about back then. And I think his video captures that perfectly. So I hope he'll do more because this was a lot of fun. Again, if you haven't watched it yet, check the link in the podcast description, please, and you're in for a treat. Now, a few quick database updates on galacticfigures.com. I've been adding figures, which should have been on the website a long time ago, but I started finally on getting the vintage collection Death Star added to the website. I think the first 7 figures are now listed, plus some nice high-res pictures of the Death Star San Diego Comic-Con exclusive from 2011 are up on the website now as well, and I should have the remaining figures added in the coming days, so fingers crossed. I also got the Disney droid added now to the website, the Easter droid called R2BNE, so R2 Bunny. That was the droid that was painted in pastel colors, give it kind of an Easter look, comes with the bunny ears that you can plug into the top of the dome, so it's a pretty fun droid, I think. So that's also listed now on galacticfigures.com. I also just finished taking pictures of the Epic Heroes N1 Naboo Starfighter, which was on, I think it was Target. That was $9 before the holidays were over, I think. I think I picked mine up for $16 when it was $16 on Amazon. I would say it's well worth the money. Honestly, like this thing is done really well, especially if you can score this for $9 and you get a Din Djarin and a Grogu figure with that. Sure, the vehicle, isn't as detailed as the vintage collection one, obviously. It's a different thing. But I do appreciate, for example, that there are features in this vehicle which the vintage collection version does not have. For example, the engines. You can rotate the engines and you can either make them appear as if they're solid or kind of a see-through, so you can kind of see the inner workings of the engines, which is really cool because all you have to do is just rotate them around, and it's a little nice hidden play feature, so kind of appreciated that. So anyways, the N1 Naboo Starfighter from the Epic Heroes line fits perfectly with the figures in this particular line, and again, if you were able to score that for $9, I mean, that's just that's a treat. But anyways, been taking some pictures of the figures, and they should be up on galacticfigures.com in the coming days as well. Then we have a fan stream scheduled for this coming Wednesday, the 26th, on the Hasbro Pulse YouTube channel, where Hasbro is going to show new Star Wars action figures from the Vintage Collection and the Black Series line. Maybe we'll get our first look at the Retro Collection figures as well. That'd be kind of cool. So we'll see, but this week should be filled with a lot of Star Wars action figure news. And then on March 1st, on Saturday, there is Toy Fair, and Hasbro is actually going to be at Toy Fair. They have a fan event there as well. It's not off-site this year. It's at the Javits Center, so at the actual toy fair itself. And I did get an invitation, which I really appreciated, even though I said on a podcast that I was not going to go because it's too short of a notice, which it really is for me. So, but I still appreciated getting the invitation and would have loved to go. But yeah, I mean, at this point, we don't know how much Hasbro is actually going to show, especially now that they're holding a live stream just 2 days prior or 3 days prior to the event. So I don't think that there's going to be a lot of surprises coming out of Toy Fair this year, but we'll see. So anyway, so that's this week. So Wednesday, the live stream, and then on March 1st at, I think, the event starts at like 5 in the afternoon on the East Coast, so I would imagine that we have the first images coming out of Toy Fair Hasbro at around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday for us here on the West Coast. All right, so that's Hasbro and Star Wars action figure news. Then there was an earnings call that Hasbro held just recently, and they came out, and it didn't really sound all that great for a Star Wars action figure collector, if I'm honest. They did say that profits were down, I think, 12%. And they specifically called out Star Wars as underperforming, which is not good if you get called out specifically as underperforming. So that's one thing. But the other thing was that they did mention a focus going to digital gaming and a focus on aging up. So collectible toys for age groups 13 and older. This could mean anything. I mean, I could interpret anything I wanted into what they basically published. But in the end, it seems like, or at least to me, it feels as if we'll see more and more crowdfunding projects, more HasLab type stuff for the older collector, and less toys specifically for kids. I don't know if you guys have seen that aisle display that's at Walmart currently with a bunch of Nerf blasters on it. A very interesting display in that the display itself seems to be more than the actual product on it. Okay, so it's supposed to be an end cap, I think, and it's weird because they're repackaging the Nerf blaster from the Rogue One toy line, and I actually had that for a long time. My son loved it because you can put, I think, 3 glow-in-the-dark Nerfs in it, and this thing, like this blaster, really has a pull. I mean, you fire this thing and you hit somebody and this thing hurts. This is it's a pretty good blaster. And that came out in 2016, 2017, I want to say, for Rogue One, and they had the Death Trooper on the packaging and everything. For this repack and this repaint, they changed the packaging to a classic looking Stormtrooper, which those Stormtroopers never carried that type of weapon, which is really weird that that's what the marketing is these days, right? That they're okay with putting characters on the packaging that don't go with the actual product, But I imagine they probably put the classic Stormtrooper on this blaster's packaging simply for the fact that it's the most recognizable trooper, right? But yeah, still, there used to be a time when this was not the case, and they paid more attention to be accurate to the source material, which again is interesting to see. But anyways, to go back to the topic, it sounded like as if Hasbro is really focusing more on digital experiences, moving away from toys more and more, and the toys which they are going to produce sounds as if it's going to be more for the adult collector. That's where it's heading. And to me, that seems to be, that's the death spiral, which I've been talking about for a while now. But I do feel like figure collecting is going to come to an end. The question is now just, how long is it going to be around? Is it going to be 2 or 3 years? Is it going to be 4 or 5 years? I think that once Star Wars has a movie out again, that's going to reignite the interest, of course, for the toys. And, I keep saying this, as long as Lucasfilm keeps putting out great Star Wars content, I think there's going to be demand for the toys. But if Lucasfilm cannot figure out how to put quality Star Wars storytelling back on the big screen, I think it's just all winding down. It's fizzling out, so to speak. And I think that's what we're seeing now. I hope we'll make it to the 50th. The 50th is not that far away, so we should be able to make it until then. And I think that no matter what's going to happen with Star Wars, and Star Wars toys, I think once the 50th comes around, I think this is going to be the end of collecting for a lot of long-term collectors. I mean, what better way to just call it quits after the 50th, you know, especially if you've been collecting since 78 and you've been there from the very first day. Calling it done on the 50th, I mean, this is it. It's the perfect opportunity to get out of the hobby and just, you know, put a line under it all. So we'll see what's going to happen, but I do think that figure collecting is going to wind down, and I don't think it's going to be around for that much longer. You know, it's going to get more and more niche, more and more 3D printing, more and more third-party people offering stuff. And that's just where I think this is all going to go. It's kind of funny because my friend Jason Luttrell from the Galaxy of Toys podcast, he predicted this like more than a decade ago. He always talked about the hobby going the ways of the train model collector. And I think this is exactly where this is going. So how about that for a positive outlook for this podcast and keeping it all positive and everything. But, you know, that's just how I feel. So I feel like I have to talk about it, you know. I hope I'm wrong about all this stuff, but and hopefully it'll be around a lot longer than that. But yeah, we'll see, right? So anyways, if you haven't seen it yet, the link to the release, to that press release from Hasbro is in the podcast description. So you can read up about it. If you're interested in that. And that's, I think, where I'm going to wrap up this episode of GFT. As far as store reports go, I've been to my local Walmart a few times over the last few weeks. I didn't find anything new. I saw that the Epic Heroes figures were marked down to $5 now, but, you know, those were at Ross stores before the holidays for less than $4, I think. So that's not really that exciting. But I think online, Entertainment Earth has shipped out the latest wave of TVC figures, which includes the Snow Trooper, which is cool. And I have not received those figures yet. I got those through Amazon, and I'm waiting patiently to get those figures through them. And so far, nothing has moved yet. Oh, one more thing. The Black Series 2-pack from Hasbro Pulse has shipped. That includes the repack of the Super Battle Droid and the Clone Trooper. So those figures have shipped out from Hasbro Pulse, but I haven't gotten those yet. Alright, so I think that's pretty much it for Star Wars action figure news. There's going to be another episode, at least one more episode this week after the live stream on Wednesday. And then, kind of depending on what's going to come out of Toy Fair, I might turn the microphone on again on the weekend and record another episode if there's stuff to report about. So thank you guys for listening. For all things Star Wars action figures related, stay tuned to galacticfigures.com and check the links in the podcast description, please. And I'll catch you back here on Wednesday for more Star Wars action figure talk. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you on the next one.
This is it.